My name is Maria Duster, and I am a Climate Justice Policy Manager at the Community Climate Collaborative, or C3. We are a climate advocacy organization working in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Richmond, Virginia. So just last month, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, also called ACEEE, released an update to their 2020 Energy Burden Report. The study examined energy affordability across state and metro areas, including subgroups based on race, income, age, and housing type. It also threw a spotlight on Richmond, Virginia, whose residents have struggled with rising energy and housing costs for decades now. The update comes as C3 actually kicks off its own energy burden studies in Richmond and Albemarle County, which seek to understand energy affordability and offer solutions to address it. So energy burden is the percentage of a household's income that's spent on energy or utility costs, which usually include things like electricity, natural gas, and other common heating fluids. Researchers usually say that 6% or higher is what we call a high energy burden. 10% or higher is very high, and then 20% or higher is extremely high. So for example, if you make $3,000 a month, but you pay $300 a month in utility bills, then you would have an energy burden of around 10%, which would be considered very high. So the drivers of energy burden can be varied and can include physical or infrastructural, behavioral, economic, or policy-related drivers. So a physical driver, for example, might be poor insulation or an outdated HVAC system, which can drive up energy costs. An economic driver could be chronic economic hardship due to persistent low income, which of course makes it really difficult to pay utility bills, no matter how high they are. But it's important to note that when we're talking about drivers of energy burden, energy burden, high energy burden, it's not random. Really, it's often symptomatic of decades-long policies that have caused certain groups of people, or maybe the areas in which they live, to experience disenfranchisement or disinvestment over time. So in Richmond, for example, we know through local research that areas that have been historically redlined, most of which are majority Black and low income, usually have higher land surface temperatures, a lack of tree canopy, and a larger amount of impervious surfaces, which are often things like blacktop or asphalt. So these not only make the people who live there more susceptible and vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, but may also cause them to use more energy, right? If you live in an area of town that is multiple degrees hotter than another area, you can expect to probably be using more energy, right? Turning your air conditioning on versus your neighbors who live in maybe a cooler part of town. So therefore, we recognize through this that energy burden is actually part of a much larger conversation around energy justice and climate justice. C3 is currently working on 2 comprehensive energy burden studies in Richmond and Albemarle County. These 2 studies will analyze energy burden and its drivers at a local level, seeking to understand the relationship between housing and energy affordability. Our goal is to not only identify those key drivers of energy burden in Richmond and Albemarle, but also map disparities between households based on a variety of different factors, which can include characteristics such as race and ethnicity, income, building age, whether you own your home or rent it, and various other things. ACEEE's study provides a high-level analysis of state and metro areas, but due to the wide breadth of that research, the study is like nationwide, it does not really dive deep into the historical and socioeconomic trends of individual localities and how that might contribute to disparities in energy costs. So our study will focus on the city of Richmond and the county of Albemarle specifically, providing in-depth neighborhood level analysis. C3's work is deeply rooted in local context, and that allows us to not only understand the complex histories that have caused those disparities today, but also offer tailored solutions to and for the communities that we work and live in. So you can follow our social media to stay updated on our progress and our findings as we continue this study. But in the meantime, we have actually created an online form that we are asking community members in Richmond and Albemarle to fill out and to talk about their experience with energy burden, high costs, or any other relevant information they want to share. We'll have it linked wherever this video is posted, and we would love to hear from y'all or your organization if you work for an organization doing work in the community.